The reason you're stuck in life, unable to make any improvements, it's not your bad habits. Your bad habits are actually just a symptom of the real problem, that is mental health. This world is filled with an abundance of dopamine, of this pleasure. An abundance, the kind of pleasure that we've never seen before in the world. Never before have we had this much abundance of pleasure. This abundance of pleasure should create joy, shouldn't it? It should create more happiness. But it's not. It's creating more pain, more depression, more mental health problems. And that seems counterproductive. But let me explain to you why that happens. There isn't any reason to work hard anymore. Just think about it. Why would you go to the gym, work hard, and after many months only see the results of your hard work? When you can just open Call of Duty right now, play some video games, and level up instantly. Level up within a few minutes. When you go to the gym, it takes time to level up. It takes time for your physique to improve. And just like video games, in life we have to improve a lot of our skills, a lot of the aspects of life. And when we want to go and level up our fitness, our physique, our health, we have to go to the gym, start eating clean. And that's a pretty uncomfortable and long process. And in the same way, these video games hijack your brain. They hijack your wanting for growth. Because all humans, they want growth. We've been literally programmed to seek out growth. But these video games hijack that program and makes you get that feeling of growth in the virtual world. But we know that that growth in the virtual world is not helping anyone. It's not helping you. Because in real life, you're actually not growing. You're actually falling off. The skills and the aspects of your life are actually deteriorating when you level up in this virtual world. That's why it's so important to get rid of these bad habits and start working in real life to achieve your goals. To start leveling up in different aspects of your life, in health and fitness. And that's why we need to be aware of what these bad habits actually do to us. It gives you so much dopamine. Dopamine is this molecule in our brain that drives us, gives us motivation to go and pursue something. When we have high dopamine, we'll feel like going to the gym, we'll feel like pursuing better health. You'll feel more motivated to go to the gym. Dopamine is what gives you motivation, not pleasure. The modern habits that we have, they steal our drive for growth. Because now we are able to get dopamine instantly. If you just go on a phone and start scrolling, we get dopamine instantly. In a few seconds you can get dopamine, you can get this pleasure. Okay? And the problem is that these things release so much dopamine because they're so pleasurable and you have so much motivation to do them. But the more and more you do this, the more and more dopamine that gets bombarded into your brain. And these things in your brain, there are some things called the receptors. These receptors are what dopamine attaches to. And when dopamine attaches to these receptors, we feel that pleasure, that dopamine hit. But when so much dopamine just gets bombarded into our brain, these receptors can get fried because they were never designed to handle this much dopamine. Never in human existence has there been this much dopamine. Right? It started off with drugs. Drugs were literally built to give you that much, give you a lot of dopamine. Right? And since then we've evolved in new technology like scrolling on Instagram. Let me tell you, scrolling on Instagram is no different than any drug except that it's socially acceptable. Because think about it, when you do drugs, you're getting that large hit of dopamine. You get this large hit of dopamine and your dopamine receptors start to get fried. In the same way, social media, when you scroll on Instagram, right, you continuously get this dopamine hit. And even though it's less than drugs, the dopamine hit, you're able to do it more and more and more and more. There's no incentive to stop. That's what's scary about Instagram and like scrolling and TikTok, because there's no incentive to stop. Why would you stop? It's so pleasurable for you. That's why it's so dangerous. If you can just understand what I'm saying, it's so dangerous. Because when you keep bombarding your brain with dopamine, your receptors start to get fried. And this is where mental health problems start. Because when your dopamine receptors start to get fried, your brain wants to protect these receptors. Right? There's always a failure mechanism built in into your body, into your brain, always. So in this scenario, the failure mechanism is, okay, there's so much dopamine coming into our brain, there's so much dopamine attaching to our receptors that it's getting fried. It could die if it continues like this. So what your brain does is it down regulates the receptors, and these receptors, when they get down regulated, less dopamine is able to attach onto the receptors. These receptors allow less dopamine to get attached. So now when you scroll on Instagram the next time, even if you put the same amount of dopamine into your brain, less of that dopamine that's in your brain is able to attach to the receptors. So what happens now is you're able to feel less pleasure. You have less pleasure now than you did before, even though you're putting the same amount of dopamine into your brain. And you've probably seen this, right, with addicts. How does addiction start? Addiction starts when your dopamine receptors start to die. When you keep bombarding your brain with dopamine and your brain downregulates the receptors, you want to put more dopamine into your brain. Because when you put more dopamine into your brain, you're forcing these receptors to accept more dopamine. You're forcing the dopamine to attach to the downregulated receptors. So that's how dopamine starts. That's how addiction starts. When you keep bombarding your brain with more and more and more dopamine to feel the same high. You've probably heard like these people who do drugs, they're talking about they don't get the same high as they did the first time, because your dopamine receptors are getting more and more downregulated. The longer and longer you do it, the more and more you do it, and the more and more you do it, less dopamine from any activity, from anything that you do, is able to attach to these receptors. That's why addicts have a hard time enjoying life without the substance that they're addicted to. They have a hard time spending time with their family and having fun. They have a hard time going outside, taking a walk in the park and having fun. Because these things don't release even close to as much dopamine that's released by these habits that are available now. Drugs, smoking, drinking, playing video games, watching TV, scrolling on Instagram. All these things, eating highly palatable junk food, highly processed junk food. These things have literally been designed and built to addict you. Literally been designed to give you that high level of pleasure, to stimulate you so much. And right now in the modern world, it's pretty horrible now, because mental health problems are at an all-time high, depression rates are at an all-time high, suicide rates are at an all-time high. And all because of this abundance of pleasure that we have. This abundance of pleasure is causing pain. So do you realize that? From this case study that we have right now, we can see that pleasure does not equal to pain. Pleasure does not equal to joy, Pleasure does not equal to happiness. Pleasure is not happiness. This thing that we've been promised. Oh, just do this, just feel pleasure, just drink, just smoke, just scroll on Instagram, you'll feel happy. That's not what's happening right now. Oh, you just eat this junk food, eat some chocolate and you'll feel happy. Do you feel happy? After the 5th time you've relapsed, after the 5th time you've eaten junk food today, do you feel happy or do you feel dirty, disgusting? Do you regret what you've done? So you can see that pleasure does not equal to joy and happiness. But do you know what does equal to joy and happiness? Discipline. Because with discipline comes growth. With discipline comes discomfort. And when you go on the path of discipline, when you start going to the gym, it feels uncomfortable at first. When you're doing the workout, your muscles are hurting. It feels uncomfortable at first. When you continue like this, your physique gets better. Your mental health gets better. Because when you stop doing these highly dopaminergic activities, these highly pleasurable things that we have in this world, your dopamine, your receptors start to heal. When you stop doing these horrible bad habits, your receptors start to heal. And when your receptors heal, you're able to feel more pleasure from less dopamine. Because when your receptors heal, it's again more dopamine is able to attach to it. Right? the more and more it heals, the more and more dopamine that can actually attach to it. Right? So when we now go on a walk, after we stop doing these bad habits, we stop these ultra pleasurable activities. When we go on a walk, when we sit with our families, when we read a book, when we go to the gym, we'll actually feel way more pleasure, we'll actually feel way more joy and happiness. You can just sit around in your room and feel way more happy. Why? Because you just feel better. The slight dopamine that you get from these habits and activities that we do, it will feel like a lot because your receptors are healed. And this is the key to a happy life, to a successful life. Your dopamine is literally the key to your success. And the modern world is trying to hijack that. It's trying to steal your key. It's trying to steal your success. Because if you just look around right now, everybody is scrolling on Instagram. Everybody is doing many bad habits. But if you can be someone who stays away from that, you have such a higher level, you have such a higher chance of becoming successful. And this should excite you, because when everybody's on this dopamine path, or on this bad habits path, you can be the person who stays away from that. And now you have this clear-cut road to success. Because when you stop doing these bad habits, you have more dopamine, which means you're more motivated. Because dopamine is the motivation molecule. So you're more motivated. And when you're more motivated to do the work that's going to make you successful, like, what can stop you, right? And this is literally the key to success. Just healing your receptors, because your mind is at the epicenter of everything that you do. You're going to the gym, you're going to do the bad habits, you're going to do a good habit, you're going to eat clean, you're going to eat junk food, whatever it is, your mind is at the epicenter of it. Are you going to work hard? Are you going to work towards your goals? Are you going to work towards success? Or are you going to work towards mediocrity? Are you stay happy where you are? It's all in your mind. If you can fix your mind, if you can heal your mind, if you can make your mind healthy, it's going to work for you instead of against you. Because right now your brain is working against you. It's making you watch TV shows, making you scroll on Instagram. Even though you really don't want to do these things, your brain is telling you to do it. It's making you do it more and more and more. So your brain is actually your antagonist. When you heal your brain, when you make your brain healthy, it becomes on your side. Your brain comes to your side. And when that happens, it's so much easier for you to become successful. Because when your brain's the antagonist, you're literally fighting a battle uphill. You're trying to climb a mountain that's unscalable. But if you heal your brain, that mountain becomes smaller and smaller and smaller until it becomes just a hill. But you still have to climb that hill. But isn't that so much easier than climbing that huge mountain? That's what I want you to take away from this. The bad habits that you do, the ultra pleasurable things, the dopamine that you have, I want you to think about it. Is it really, is this what my life is worth? Is this what your life is worth? It's ultra dopamine. Just drowning in dopamine and not achieving anything. Please start improving your life. Make your mind more healthy. Improve your mental health. And when you do that, your bad habits will just start going away. And good habits will come to you. It'll be easier for you to adapt good habits. And it'll be easier for you to overthrow bad habits. And that's why it's so important, because these modern habits are enslaving you. They're enslaving you to mediocrity. So save yourself. And now that I have now saved myself, stop doing these bad habits. And now I want to save you. Because I know how bad these bad habits are, because I have drowned in this dopamine that we have in this modern world. And thankfully, a YouTuber named Hamza saved me. And now that he saved me, I want to save you as well. And that's my purpose and my mission with this channel. To save everyone else who doesn't have a savior. Because these modern habits are enslaving you. And you just don't realize it. You're the type of person who wants to achieve big goals. You have big desires, big ambition. I know that because you're watching a video like this with no editing, with just knowledge. And because of that, I know that you have so much ambition. And every time these small habits that derail your potential, you need to feel horrible about it. You need to feel like your potential just took a hit. You need to keep in mind your potential. You want to achieve your potential because it's so high. Everybody's potential is so high, but then nobody wants to achieve it. Nobody thinks about it. When you do these bad habits, right, you never think about your potential. You're okay with being mediocre. When you have your potential in mind, when you know you can achieve that, when you can reach for the stars, you know your potential is that high. Everything that you do that derails your potential, you're going to feel so bad about it. You're not going to want to do it. It's okay for people who want to be mediocre. If they can go out every Saturday, go drinking, partying, because they're not mindful of their potential. But if you're mindful of your potential, those things just hurt you. You don't even want to do them anymore. So keep that in mind. Keep your potential in mind because it's so high. Especially if you're watching a video like this, you have more potential than anybody else that's around you. You have more potential than anybody else around you. You could be a top 0.001% person, human being. That's all. Then that all depends on you. Will you do the work? Will you stay away from the bad habits? And we all have a long journey to go, but I know that we all can become successful. Because we're on this path, we're making sacrifices, and sacrifices will be rewarded. So stay on this path, stay away from these bad habits. Keep in mind your potential and work towards it every single day, even if it's just 1% better. Every single day. And in time you will become successful. Because I'm telling you, sacrifice is rewarded. Sacrifice is never left empty.